name's Kevin Parra. I'm a student at Daytona State College, also the president of the Science Club. One of our projects this summer is going to be the conversion of this diesel car to burn waste vegetable oil. That's right, you can take a diesel car, not only run it on diesel fuel, but also waste vegetable oil. So I'm going to show you what that's all about. Okay, we've got several components here that we're going to be putting together. Most of them I was able to pick up through just recycling, good scrounging we'll call it. This is a boat tank, and that's going to serve as our second tank. Again, just to reiterate, the system's going to be a two-tank system. We've got the existing diesel tank. This is going to be the waste vegetable oil system. We've got a series of pumps and hoses and the rest that we'll be going through today from the beginning of this project all the way through to the end. So hang on, we'll take this journey together. To begin with, what I'm doing is putting some holes up through the bottom body member so I can pass my feed line and my return line for the new tank. So we're going to we punched the holes through the unibody, and we've got the rubber grommets installed, and I'm going to put a little bit of grease on it right now so that my hoses. Now, what I've started using, I used to use a steel line in the past. Boy, that was a pain in the rear end to try to make it up through the body frame and stuff. So I've just started using this PEX line, and I got this at Home Depot, and I'm not endorsing it, and it's somewhat experimental, but I'm going to give it a try because it seems to save an awful lot of work. It's real handy and it works really well. We'll get into some of the details of that as we move forward. So again, we've punched our holes. Our feed line is on the left, our return line is on the right, and we've got those set up. And we're going to set the tank back in. We're going to punch a hole in the carpet too. Try to keep everything as clean as we can to make it look like it's a pretty nice setup. So we'll get started with the fitting now. We've gotten the grommets in, we've punched the hole in the carpet, and I just used a simple knife, did an X pattern there. I don't want to have to bore everybody with all the step-by-step. Most of it you can figure out if you got some common mechanical sense. Punched those holes, got the carpet moved away just to run up, but got the hoses with the grommets around them so they don't chafe on the body. And they're up and we're ready to go. So this side of the project is done. Right, I've got the PEX line. I've got the red for the feed and the blue for the return. It's just my coating system, and it just kind of keeps things straight. Running back, I'm just loosely figuring out the approximate distance. And again, it's not really critical, but just kind of get most of the hose out that I need. And then we're going to get things tightened up here in a minute and put some insulation around it for anti-wear and insulation. We fed these lines through this hole in the cross member and joined up with the feed line. And what I'm going to do now is going to start up through the body with some tie straps, just kind of collecting it. This is not going to be the permanent tie off. I'm just sort of gathering stuff together and doing a test run, and then we'll fit things in as we go. All right, what I do is, well, I guess some could say I'm cheap, but others would say I recycle a lot. I've got an old lead cord here that I've gotten out of my shop that was no longer safe around the shop for 120, but I cut off the bad parts and salvaged it, and I'm going to use that to feed my pump in the trunk, and also for my sending unit for my fuel tank. And what I've done is tied that. I brought the two lines together, and I've included the electrical line, and I began the coating with this foam, again, stuff I got from Home Depot. It just works really good as a friction surface. It's foam, so it moves a little bit, keeps it from wearing through. So we're in the process of packing that up. I run everything initially just as a test run up through here to kind of get the rough shape of it and the feed lines, and then I start tightening things up. All right, we've got everything tucked away here pretty nicely. Created a nice foam shield which provides a level of thermal insulation as well as protection in case a stick or a piece of metal jumped up at you driving down the road. Just to cover a few physics points about the car is you've got the hot oil returning back to the tank from the return line, and that's the blue line, and it's running right alongside the red line, the feed line. So we're capturing a little bit of that radiant heat as the oil is going back to the tank. It's heating up that feed line at the same time. So if you come back here, you see we make a nice gentle curve tied off real well up here. So we're in we're in real good shape, mindful of any friction point that's touching that it's got a piece of foam around it. So we're going to drop it down now and begin tucking things away inside the car and doing the. All right, we're moving now on to the electrical part of it. It's a little bit more time consuming, and you got to be careful because you don't want to tear anything up. I took the ashtray out and exposed this center console area, and also last evening, and I didn't bother videoing it, but I can explain to you what I did real quick. I pulled the bucket out of here, just some pop rivets that you pop up out of here. I pulled the bucket out, and I pulled this bottom panel. In fact, I got one screw I got to put back in. But I did that, and I got my wires ran from here up along through the channel, and then there happened to be a little pipe up underneath the dash that I was able to get. We'll go around the engine compartment now. I was able to get the wires pushed up through. Firewall pass-through is always your stinky part, because you want to make sure that the wires don't chafe. You want to make sure that you don't poke anything, air conditioning tubes and all the rest. So if you don't know what you're doing, you better find a mechanic or somebody. It takes a little time to get it. But I passed it up through, and now I've covered the wires with this casing material. I just picked this up at Walmart, and I'm going to run them around over there and get ready to hook up to my selector valve. And also I run one wire back to the trunk for my lead cord, which is down in this area. Now this is lead cord that I had salvaged, and it comes up through the body frame and came in companion with the feed and return lines. And I'm going to tie that all together right now, and I'll actually provide myself one extra wire for the future going back to the trunk. Now one thing that I do is I choose a ground in the trunk so that I don't waste a wire going all the way back. So that gives me 3 wires to go to the back. So I got one for my sending unit for the fuel tank, one will be for my fuel pump, and the other will be for later on. I want to put in a heater back there. So it gives me 3 different things, and I'll hook this up and I'll go over that in a minute. This is day 2 of the conversion of the 190 Mercedes. I've got the 2 lines that we installed here yesterday. I came up and I clamped 90s on them. I put a clear plastic tube in here so I can see when the fluid runs through. This is a Pollock selector valve. The top port is normally open, and I'm leaving that for my main tank. This is the main tank line that comes up. This is the stock tank. Comes up from the back of the car, and I'm going to tie it in with a 90 right here in a second and do the return as well, so that it's all set with the factory feed and return here, and the auxiliary tank feed and return here. So that's basically the fuel system, and we had yesterday's fuel line installation, and we're going to get into the trunk in just a minute and install that. So we're good. This is day 4 of the conversion, and I'm doing some electrical work. Not my favorite thing, but I'm getting it done. I've got my switch, my fuel selector switch. I had the wires hooked up backwards. Little mistakes. No matter how experienced you are, you still make mistakes. But I got everything hooked up the way it's supposed to be, and I'm using this heat shrink tubing, a little thing that I like to use, and a heat gun. And I'll show you. It's really good. Shrinks around the wires, makes the connection really good. These connectors, no matter how good you get, they sometimes have a tendency to pull apart. And as you can see, it pulls it really nice and tight around there and gives you a good connection so that when you hook up. Now I've got these LED lights that I'm hooking up, a little bit fancy thing for my daughter, a little feature to let her know when she's running on vegetable it'll be green, and when she's running on diesel, which we hope not much, it'll be red. So and I can supply a diagram, but most of it's just common sense for the hookup. Now I ran my hot wire and my ground into here, and I created a like a fuse panel, or not a fuse panel, but a junction panel, so that I can distribute my juice there without having to combine wires. So we're getting really close now. Everything's done in the trunk. In fact, let me take you back there and I'll show you real quick how the tank turned out. This is the return line. I got to get a 90 to put here, and then I want to put another 90 here on this hose so I can move my tank back. Got all my wires, and I kind of leave things loose initially just until I can make sure everything's what it needs to be. Just kind of take a few minutes to cover the high points of the project, take you around and show you how we did through the whole thing. We'll start here in the back. Some of this is review, but we had the open container with the waste vegetable oil. We got our fuel system all plumbed in. This eventually is going to be the fuel line feed. I'm going to put a opening here in the fender. I've got to ask some body people for some advice. Up in the engine compartment, we ended up with our brackets, our wiring, existing or the stock fuel coming in here, and then the vegetable oil coming in down here in the bottom. Simple solenoid, pretty straightforward. Filter there, standard Mercedes filter here. Inside the cab here we have a real straightforward system. That's diesel, the red light goes on there. See, we don't want to burn that very often. The green light for the vegetable oil. Something happened to my fuel gauge. It's currently not working, but that did work. I'll probably just have to replace the fuel gauge. And then this is an auxiliary pump, on and off. One of the most important things about the waste vegetable oil project is where you're going to get your oil from. I get mine here in Daytona from Tiamori's, place down on Beach Street. Making sure you've got good quality oil generally comes in containers like this. I generally let this sit in the sunlight for about 30 days. I've got a little glass box that I use, solar concentration, lets the junk kind of float to the bottom, and I pour that then through a 3 micron bag filter. After I get done that, I put it in a bag. It's good to go. I've enjoyed this project here at Daytona State College. All I can tell you is that stop complaining about prices of fuel and environmental issues or whatever else. Start doing something, educate yourself, equip yourself, but the most important thing, get started and do something. Thank you.